You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. That's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop, Spelljammer. Hello everybody, Jordan here, the PH is silent, and welcome to my channel on Dungeons & Dragons lore. This is the next installment of my Spelljammer miniseries. If you're new here and wondering what this Spelljammer thing is all about, I'll put a link in the top right corner and in the description to the start of the series. I think you'll appreciate this video more watching the previous episodes, but you're also probably a person that likes to live dangerously, and who am I to tell you what to do? In this video, I'll discuss having adventures in space with Dungeons & Dragons and what shape those adventures could take. I'll talk about my homebrew rules that I believe put a fun 5e spin on the Spelljammer campaign setting, and also I'll give you a good starting adventure. Now, this whole video is opinion. I like Spelljammer, and this is how I would play it. But if you disagree and feel your way is better, go forth and play. I don't want you to go away thinking that there is only one way to play Spelljammer. I believe you could tell a lot of different stories with Spelljammer, but I think a large theme of the setting is exploration. What is on that planet? Why is this entire crystal sphere filled with lime jello? Be it adventuring, pirating, intrigue, or preventing an interplanetary war, in my opinion, exploration is key. The random tables in the 2nd edition Spelljammer material work great for our current campaign system. A few more modified tables and you could have other spacecraft to run into, pirates to encounter, or weird alien creatures that are the size of your ship. Not knowing what's in the next hex is the excitement of Spelljammer. Hypothetical time. You're a dungeon master and you've just finished a published campaign like Rime of the Frost Maiden or Descent into Avernus. Those are big adventures. However, you don't want to quit just yet. Your players and you, the DM, would like to keep playing as they've only made it to level 13. But where do you go from there? Space, my friends. Space.
Space. Wanna go to space?
There are numerous ways to navigate your party from a traditional D&D game into a Spelljammer one. Getting into wild space could be as easy as a magical scroll, or a mysterious artifact has activated and transports you to a wild space station. Perhaps you find an old Spelljammer ship, and once activated, it flies you to its original owner. The introductory adventure for Spelljammer was called Wild Space, and it was intended for characters level 6 to 8. Now, despite this level range of 6 to 8, the skeleton of the adventure is solid. Personally, I like playing some of these older adventures, and in the past I've updated older edition material such as The Rod of 7 Parts to work with 5e. With encounter builders, you don't need to convert the monsters. Just find equivalent challenging monsters. If you want some Spelljammer inspiration or a good starting point for a Spelljammer campaign, I think that this wild space adventure would be great for a group of adventurers levels 12 to 13 who have just finished another big adventure. You saved Faerun, but can you save the multiverse? Now, I'm going to talk a little in depth about Wild Space, the adventure, so if you don't want spoilers, please pause here and skip to the end. The adventure Wild Space is convenient. Being the first Spelljammer adventure, it assumes most other players don't have any familiarity with this campaign setting. It can begin just after the heroes have saved Faerun, or a different world of your choice. After the celebration settles, maybe a few weeks go by, but eventually your party hears a low whistling. Then a higher pitch, and suddenly a giant anchor falls from the sky, crashing into a building. Avoiding wooden debris, the PCs happen upon this anchor that has a thick rope that stretches up to the sky. Climbing the rope, they discovered a spelljamming ship called the Skyrunner, with an odd crew and a disgruntled captain named John Tobart. He's on a mission and requires your help. He needs a smarter and stronger crew where he's going. The secret of this adventure is John Tobart is actually a polymorphed beholder, evil and exiled from his kind. He seeks a magical artifact called the Queen's Eyes to take control of an ancient weapon called the Ravager. His crew are polymorphed animals, fine for keeping the ship going, but he needs more intelligent creatures to navigate an asteroid field that will take him into the hive. Sooner or later, the party will discover John Tobart for what he really is, and realize the Queen's Eyes artifact must not fall into the wrong hands. Racing to get there first, you'll explore and learn of new races and civilizations, and hopefully save the multiverse. And I like this adventure because Spelljammer is so different. John could convince the party that he's not the villain, when he is in fact the villain. It takes you around various crystal spheres, and using the random tables, you can create a few planets to explore. However, John, aka the DM, is there to keep you on track and knows where to go. When the adventure is over, you'll have a bunch of ships to choose from, and potentially more adventures, as there might be loose ends to tie up. Now, there are some 5e rules that convert pretty well to Spelljammer. You can use the boating rules from Ghost of Saltmarsh if you wish. However, I don't like the ship crew rank feature, and some players, their only job is to give advantage. Now, the Infernal War Machine rules from Descent into Avernus are a large improvement, and they're found in Appendix B of Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. Using these rules with some minor tweaks to fit in with Spelljammer, I found works pretty well. Now, I Frankensteined some Jorphdan Homebrew. It's a mixture of D&D 5e and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and skill challenges, because I like them. Since Spelljammer uses hexagons to display space combat, let's think in hexagons. We will keep the ship rating and speed rules. So based on your casting level plus the helm and ship, you get a ship rating, or SR, which equals the number of hexagons you can move. This is the only spot where we need a player to change their role from caster to pilot. It should be discussed by the players at the table, but ultimately the one sitting on the helm will control the ship's movement. This also makes them a target, but thankfully helms in Spelljammer offer 3/4 cover. I like the idea that certain ships have a larger turn radius than others. So if you can move 3 hexes, one of those hexes might be used to turn. Now with D&D 5e, you can use your action to dash, and I don't see a problem with this. If you want to make it an optional rule, you can, which would be sacrificing your attack action, i.e. all of the weapons on your ship, in order to move again at the same speed. To make combat more interesting and to give the player in the helm, aka the pilot, something else to do, we're going to add a feature I'm calling Spell Surge. Spell Surge allows the helmsperson to use spell slots to push the ship faster for 1 movement turn. As a bonus action, the helmsperson uses a spell slot, which powers up the Spelljammer, giving you a temporary increase to movement. The movement reflects the level of the spell, so a 4th level spell would equal 4 hexes of movement. Now, the helmsperson must be connected to the helm physically, and this is their bonus action. Their main action can be to dash or attack. If they attack, then the rest of the crew can fire weapons that are in range. Spell Surge has a downside though. If you decide to Spell Surge for extra movement, then at the end of your turn, you have to roll a d20. And if your roll is lower than the level of the spell slot used, you must roll on the critical hit Spelljammer table. For example, if I use a level 1 spell slot to push my ship 1 hex forward, I would roll a d20, and on a natural 1, I would suffer a critical hit. If I used a level 5 spell slot to push my ship 5 hexes forward, I would then have to roll a d20, and on a natural 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, I suffer a critical hit. The critical hit table is found in the Concordance of Arcane Space in Chapter 4. You roll a d20 and there are 20 different results. Possibilities are a loss of hull points, a fire could break out, or you might lose movement for the next turn. I like to think of it as the equivalent of Scotty saying, "I'm giving it all she has got, Captain!" You push your ship farther than it ought to be able to go, but there could be repercussions for that. A loss of hull points might be your ship breaking up under the stress of extra spell surge movement. Now, luckily, the rest of the party can repair the ship during combat. If a character is proficient in an applicable skill and have the tools, they can attempt a DC 15 repair check. And I'd let your players be creative with this. A woodworking skill to fix a hole in the ship is great. Arcana to repair magical damage that would allow the ship to go back to normal speed, wonderful. The bard uses performance to inspire the crew to get the weapons back up. I mean, maybe? These skill checks can be to stop a fire on the ship, heal hull points by 1, or get weapons working again. Fix a decrease in movement. Other players can take up a Spelljammer ship weapon and use it to attack, firing on the enemy that is within range. Now, Chapter 8 of the Dungeon Master's Guide has siege equipment, and the damage there is reflective of people, not ships. So to fix this, for every 10 points of regular damage you inflict, it equals 1 hull point of damage to the Spelljammer vessel. Sometimes you want a faster, more narrative way to explain a battle or getaway, and this is where skill challenges come in. Okay, so I originally wrote a big long explanation on how I run skill challenges, but I think I'll save that for another video. My script ended up being way longer than I intended. If you live in the future, I'll put a link in the description and in the top right corner of the screen to that video. I'm going to condense these rules into a Google document that I'll share in the description. It's a work in progress, and I'll update it as needed with some links to other Spelljammer resources that I've discovered. I think you'll be able to convert Spelljammer to 5e if you dive in. And a bunch of you were interested in a crin space and gray space video at some point. So I'll get working on that, but for now, read up and let me know how the rules work out, and I'll update the Spelljammer document. Thanks again for watching, everybody. I will see you all in the next video.